The mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream. There are platforms, there are people out there that are getting 14 million streams, and we're on cable news getting 1 or 2 million. And so there is a whole world out there. Kellyanne Conway, I hate to agree with her, but I do a lot of times. Donald Trump understood that and we didn't. And that's not just Democrats that don't. The entire political class is way off, way off, way.
I mean, he's right. They don't understand it. They don't recognize the environment. They have no way of comprehending it. And to be fair to Van Jones here, to be fair to Mao's Third World is Van Jones, and I do want to watch like this panel. If you guys have the clip, I would like to watch this clip. But it's hard to comprehend if you're not in this environment. As someone who is in this environment, let me tell you, okay, it is vast. It is vast. It is expansive. And people have no way of comprehending how big it is. Like, people don't understand. Like, if I'm getting 60,000 live concurrent viewers, that's like 600,000 on the Nielsen ratings. Okay, I'm at the DNC with 60K live concurrent viewers. That's a fucking reputable TV network. Like, that is a straight up sizable TV network, especially for the demographics. 60K to 600K. Yes, the way that television Nielsen ratings work is unique viewership across the board in an hour. Okay, from Nielsen TV homes that they extrapolate this data from. Okay, live concurrent viewership translated to Nielsen metrics would be anywhere from 5x to 10x. This is the reason why, for example, while I had 314,000 concurrents on my election night coverage, I had 7.5 million unique viewers. Okay, but yeah, this is a bunch of old people trying to comprehend how much they, how they lost. And the other side of it is that, like, not only is it sizable, but also it's a demographic that is far more important to tap into. A demographic that simply does not watch any television whatsoever. It is the 18 to 35 demographic. Okay, the 18 to 35-year-old demographic is the demographic that I have. And that is a demo that does not watch TV. They don't have cable. I don't have cable. I'm in that demo. I have never had cable. In August, the Bulwark told me it noticed a large portion of its growing YouTube audience was watching its podcasts and clips on TV. Today, YouTube reported that people are watching 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on TVs. Another way pods have displaced cable news and talk shows. Yeah. And this is still playing catch up. Twitch and live streaming is at the forefront. And I would say that right now, even at this stage, live streaming is where podcasts were in like 2015. When I was a avid podcast listener in 2014, 2015, I would try to describe to people how important this space was for media, how it was a replacement of mainstream media. Okay. And people would look at me like I'm out of my mind. Because at that time, it's like impossible to imagine. It's impossible to imagine, but like the early 2010s, like podcasts were first forming. It was the Wild West, right? And for many of you might have actually, many of you, if you're old enough like me, probably started watching podcasts back then. Okay. And at that point, most people in traditional media would look at that and go, who gives a shit about this? You know, who cares? Who cares about fucking podcasts? What are you talking about? Oh, it's just like radio, but more accessible. Oh, who cares? And now podcasts in and of itself are a force to be reckoned with. Now they understand the importance of podcasts, but they're still playing catch up because right now the next wave of content is both in short form and in live streaming. And there is a relationship between short form content and live streaming in general. And that's entirely too complicated for these guys to understand. They will not catch up to the live streaming environment, I guess, until it's like 2030s at this rate. If it took them basically 10 years to recognize the importance of podcasts, because they're now officially cognizant of the importance of podcasts, they're still going to, it's going to take them another at least 5 to 6 years for them to catch up to where live streaming is in this entire field. Viewers watch over 400 million hours of podcasts monthly on living room devices. The share of videos uploaded to YouTube in 4K is up by 35% year over year. Early tests of the streamlined subscribe button show more than a 40% increase in net subscribers to their TVs. Watch time of sports content on TV grow 30% year over year. The Miss Rachel channel had one of the highest watch times on TV across YouTube channels in the last year. But is there parallels to be drawn between live TV and live streaming? Not necessarily. Because most leftists online are critical of them, of course they're going to ignore y'all love. Yeah, but the problem is the Republicans don't ignore their base. Structurally, the Republicans run towards their base. They're afraid of their base. The Democratic Party does not do that. They do the opposite. They hate their base. They run away from their base, and they treat their base like shit. But also on top of that, this is the reason why Republicans can go into where their base is and talk to the people. Talk to the people that are even apolitical. Democrats can't do that. If I'm one of the largest leftist content creators, one of the largest progressive content creators in North America, and I am diametrically opposed in my worldview to many of the figureheads in the Democratic Party, the way to change that is not by trying to get me to be a loyal servant of the Democratic Party. The way to change that is by the Democratic Party changing its attitude. That's it. The podcast numbers are inflated. You have so many viewers watching from all around the world. No way podcasts have the same reach as classic TV. Brother, you might be a little old. I agree with you, but don't you think that your numbers might be a little misleading with this since you have people from watching from all around the world? Only part is American? Yes. But the part that is American is so massive. No, you might be a little bit of a boomer if you're looking at podcast numbers being inflated and then saying that it doesn't have the same motion as I am 22. Okay, well, you have a boomer ass mentality around this. The party needs to come to where the people are, not the other way around. It will not work and will never work. Even if you are a willing servant of the DNC, you're not going to magically make people love the DNC. Exactly. I've been asked twice now by my Harris stan what I am doing to convince the world to let me run the country in 2028. I'm like, brother, I just want to have healthcare. What would you say the ratio is, like 80 to 20? I think so. Probably, yeah. As an independent, what really swung me to Trump was Kamala not going on podcasts. Made me feel like if she was too good to have anyone to have a basic conversation, made me feel like she thinks is almighty. I mean, it sounds stupid. And it is kind of stupid to openly say that. But there are a lot of people who fucking operate like that. And if you want to win elections, you have to fucking go there. That's it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. There is one political party that has figured out how important political streams are. Do you know who I'm thinking of? What? You mean the Republicans, right? Is that what you're saying? Or are you talking about AMLO and Morena? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, AMLO himself sidestepped a contentious media environment by becoming the media himself. There is a lot of value to that. For sure. I joke and say I'm the largest leftist content creator in North America, but the real person, that honor actually goes to AMLO. He is the one with his daily live streams. It's true. But anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump. Times Magazine. Yeah, AMLO's morning conference totaled 2,505 hours of streaming, equivalent to 3.4 months of continuous broadcasting. Like AMLO, but that's just state media by another name? Yes, it is. But guess what? A lot of private media is owned by liberal capitalists. So if you want to sidestep that because they're going to be unnecessarily contentious to everything that you do and constantly fucking shit on you, then use the environment where there is so much hatred towards mainstream media to your advantage by making your own version of this. Yeah, Mexican media is owned by 3 families. That's how it is in every country, by the way. They have invisible incentives. Like our media environment has invisible incentives. Okay? Invisible incentives that unite them. That's why a lot of the messaging that you see on mainstream outlets, regardless of how diverse this environment seems, is pretty united on certain issues like foreign policy, pretty united on deregulation, pretty united on like talking about healthcare CEOs, for example, if we're going to use this past week. And sometimes you have to sidestep that. Sometimes you have to become your own communicator. Well, you say that, and look who were on CNN last night. 3 former Fox News personalities on CNN Newsnight this evening. Yeah. FBI director resigned before Trump takes office. Julie Virginsky, Democrat strategist. Gretchen Carlson, journalist and co-founder of Lift Our Own Voices. And Geraldo Rivera, journalist. All 3 are former Fox News personalities, now on CNN. It's time for this for the new chatters.
Beep, beep.
Here. Noam Chomsky, the 5 filters of mass media machine, listening posed by Al Jazeera. This is like the most condensed version of manufactured consent.
Propaganda. Many use the word when talking about countries like North Korea, Kazakhstan, Iran. Countries viewed as authoritarian through the lens of the Western media. Press freedom, freedom of thought. People use those terms when talking about countries like the United States, France, Australia, democracies. In 1988, Noam Chomsky co-authored a book with Edward Herman called Manufacturing Consent. It blasted apart the notion that media acts as a check on political power, that media inform the public, serve the public, so that we can better engage in the political process. In fact, media manufacture our consent. They tell us what those in power need them to tell us so we can fall in line. Democracy is staged with the help of media that work as propaganda machines. Media operate through 5 filters. The first has to do with ownership. Mass media firms are big corporations. Often they're part of even bigger conglomerates. Their endgame, profit. And so it's in their interests to push for whatever guarantees that profit. Critical journalism takes second place to the needs and interests of the corporation. The second filter exposes the real role of advertising. Media costs a lot more than consumers will ever pay. So who fills the gap? Advertisers. And what are the advertisers paying for? Audiences. And so it isn't so much that the media are selling you a product, their output. They're also selling advertisers a product, you. How does the establishment manage the media? That's the third filter. Journalism cannot be a check on power because the very system encourages complicity. Governments, corporations, big institutions know how to play the media game. They know how to influence the news narrative. They feed media scoops, official accounts.
Flag is what Hasan gets for being anti-Zionist? Yes.
Interviews with the experts. They make themselves crucial to the process of journalism.
Bro, why the fuck is everybody telling me to watch the Adam Freeland Destiny video? Like, are you fucking stupid? I'm not going to watch that, man. Like, the amount of people that have been spamming that today is crazy to me. I don't give a shit, dude. Like, we got so much to cover, and y'all are just like the biggest drama perverts. Like, you jerk off the fucking drama. I just don't understand it. And it is literally all like 30-month subscribers. You know what I mean? Like 30, be in a worse mood, please. I'm in such a bad mood today. It's fucking annoying, dude. I'm trying to fix it. It's all 30 to 40 month subs.
So those in power and those who report on them are in bed with each other. If you want to challenge power, you'll be pushed to the margins. Your name won't be down. You won't be getting in. You've lost your access. You've lost the story. When the media, journalists, whistleblowers, sources stray away from the consensus, they get flack. That's the fourth filter. When the story is inconvenient for the powers that be, you'll see the flak machine in action, discrediting sources, trashing stories, and diverting.
Yeah, if you can't actually critically cover the inconvenient truth, if you can't actually address the thing, if you cannot address the message, then you address the messenger. You directly hit the messenger. You say, no, this guy is bad. This is a bad person. This is not a person that deserves your charity. Okay? The anti-Semitism allegations slapped onto every single person that is critical of Israel is a perfect demonstration of this. Okay? Especially someone like myself, right? You know what my background is, you know what my beliefs are, you know the amount of time I've spent talking specifically about anti-Semitism, right? And yet, so aggressively, a lot of these institutions have leaned on this notion that like, oh, I must be criticizing Israel from an anti-Semitic perspective.
The conversation. To manufacture consent, you need an enemy, a target. That common enemy is the fifth filter. Communism, terrorists, immigrants. A common enemy, a boogeyman to fear, helps corral public opinion. 5 filters, one big media theory. Consent is being manufactured all around you, all the time.
This is a fantastic video, obviously, and it perfectly condenses the one of the aspects of Noam Chomsky's commentary on American media, or just Western media, capitalist media, and how it operates, with great art direction as well. Anyway, and now I figured it was good timing to explain everything you were relying on the audience, knowing that they clearly didn't. Yeah, and now let's get back with the new perspective that some of you might have gathered to Donald Trump being named Time Magazine Person of the Year.
Building across the street. I wasn't going to buy it. Then I said, you know, it's right next to the New York Stock Exchange. I'm going to buy it. We've had great success. 40 Wall Street, we've had tremendous success with it. But you've really had success with the New York Stock Exchange. It's an incredible group of people. And, Jeff, you have done an incredible job, you and your group. And what a beautiful speech you made. Thank you very much. That was some introduction of all of us. But we've gone up since the election. I was just told by Scott, everybody said, you have to pick Scott Bessent. He has to be the one chosen for Treasury. Where is Scott? Let's see. He's around here someplace. He's around here. He told me we picked up $3 trillion since the election day. And I said, well, that's good, but what about before the election day? He said, we picked up some money there because they thought you were going to win. I said, I like this guy. He's going to be my Treasury Secretary. But it's true. I think we're going to have a tremendous run. We have to straighten out some problems, some big problems in the world. When we left, we didn't have any of these problems. We didn't have Russia with Ukraine. We didn't have Israel October 7th. We didn't have the Afghanistan disaster. We didn't have inflation. We had no inflation. And we had a very strong economy. And we're going to do that again. But I think we're going to even up it because now we have experience that we didn't have. Now I know everybody. You know, when I first came in, we came down, Melania and I, a great first lady, who's very popular, by the way. She rang in. She rang in the bell. She rang in the bell. But we came down and we're driving down Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was so beautiful. I said, you know, I've never done this before. I didn't know anybody. I got to the Oval Office, and I'm picking all these big positions, and I didn't really know the people in Washington, but boy, did I get to learn fast. And now we do, and I think we have an incredible staff behind me and others that aren't here. And we're going to do a fantastic job. We're going to create the incentive theory again. In fact, I just announced yesterday, I didn't announce it for this reason, but anybody investing $1 billion or more gets a very expedited approval process because, you know, the approvals, when people come into the country, it takes them, in many cases, 14, 15, 16 years to get the approval. We have Lee is around here someplace. He's in charge of the environment.
I like that they're hitting the I like that they're hitting the Democratic Party's position. Trump's like, if the Democrats don't do it, we'll do it ourselves. We're gonna expedite the approval. We're gonna expedite the approval process, but also simultaneously we're gonna go crazy. We're gonna go crazy mode on on the undocumented migrants that are here.
And that's Lee Zeldin, who ran an incredible race for governor in New York, was a very, very successful guy before that. He was a great congressman, and he's a fantastic lawyer. He's in charge of environmental, and we'll try and push him as much as possible to get those permits very quickly. Like a nuclear power plant, I would say a week.
It's crazy how much power and influence the Republican Party holds in this country because they just don't care about preserving the sanctity of institutions or whatever the fuck the Democrats act like they care about. Whatever he says goes, you know? He could just be like, yeah, we're gonna expand Medicare, and ultimately he'd be able to utilize the bully pulpit and whip the Republican Party into shape to get it across the finish line, in my opinion. It would be a difficult fight, and it would require some kind of genuine commitment from Donald Trump, which is why it won't happen, especially when like some of his backers would obviously rail against that sort of thing. Look, another 21-month subscriber. I'm doing a week off now.
Would be enough time. What do you think? Is that okay? We're going to get fast approvals, and it's great that we have Lee and all of the people behind. They're all stars in their own way. But it is an honor, and this is a double because usually they don't coordinate the Man of the Year or the Person of the Year with the ringing of the bell. And brilliantly, you picked them both at the same time, and you were all friends, and you said, let's do it. And it takes one trip. It doesn't take two trips. That's okay. We like to save. We like to be able to do it properly. But this is a special group. So many friends in the audience, too. John, great job you've done at ABC. I'm really proud of you, and you've been so nice to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually acknowledge you at all. But you.
Trump, here are some of the high notes from, or important notes from Trump's Time interview. On a scenario with a war with Iran, he said, anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's a very volatile situation. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, there's a scenario where you would allow Israel to annex the West Bank. I will. What I'm doing and what I'm saying again, I'll say it again. I want a long-lasting peace. I'm not saying that's a very likely scenario. But I want a long-lasting peace, a peace where you don't have an October 7th in another 3 years. And there are numerous ways to do it. You can do it two-state, but there are numerous ways it can be done. And I'd like to see who can be happy. But I'd like to see everybody be happy. Everybody go about their lives and people stop from dying. That includes on many different fronts. I mean, we have some tremendous world problems that we didn't have when I was president. You know, when I left, we had an Iran that was not very threatening. They had no money. They weren't giving money to Hamas. They weren't giving money to Hezbollah. Iran recently plotted to have you assassinated, which, by the way, again, the media is incredible on this issue because foreign policy is uniparty, right? Foreign policy is uniparty, and mainstream media is completely complicit, okay, in this uniparty endeavor. So, of course, when Trump says something crazy like, oh, yeah, I might actually annex the West Bank, who knows? They don't follow up. There is no following up, okay? Immediately, you just move on to some more like escalatory sentiments about Iran. Iran is trying to get you killed. You go to war with them? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. It was a very volatile situation. I think the most dangerous thing right now is what's happening where Zelensky has decided, with the approval of, I assume, the president, to start shooting missiles into Russia. I think that's a major escalation. I think it's a foolish decision, but I would imagine people are waiting until I get in before anything happens. I think that would be very smart to do that. Do you trust Netanyahu? I don't trust anybody. Can I ask, did Elon Musk meet with the Iranians at your behest? I don't know that he met with them. Reportedly, he met with the Iranians. I don't know. He didn't tell me that. Another important aspect of this was the trans conversation. Okay, so let's keyword search trans in here. I think that some women in the America want to know, are you committed to making sure the FDA does not strip their ability to access abortion pills? That would be my commitment. Yeah, that's always been my commitment. Can I shift to the transgender issue? Obviously, sort of a major issue during the campaign. In 2016, you said that transgender people could use whatever bathroom they choose. Do you still feel that way? When was that in 2016? I don't want to get into the bathroom issue because it's a very small number of people we're talking about, and it's ripped apart our country. So they'll have to settle whatever the law finally agrees on. He hit the Kamala Harris angle on this. The law decides. I'm a very big believer in the Supreme Court, and I'm going to go by their rulings. And so far, I think they're rulings that have that people are going along with. But we're talking about a very small number of people, and we're talking about it, and it gets massive coverage, and it's not a lot of people. But on that note, there's a big fight in Congress right now. The incoming trans member from Delaware, Sarah McBride, says we should all be focused on more important issues. Do you agree? I do agree with that. On that, absolutely. As I was saying, it's a small number of people. It was a big issue, though, on the campaign. I mean, one of the ads your campaign put the most money behind was that Trump is for us and Harris is for they, them. Well, it's true. Trump is for us. Right. It obviously strikes a chord. I mean, Trump is definitely for us, okay? And the U.S. is the vast, vast majority of people in this country. And us is the vast, vast majority of people in this country. And also, I want to have all people treated fairly. You know, forget about the majority or not majority. I want people to be treated well and fairly. On the trans issue, will you reverse Biden's protections for trans kids under Title IX? I'm going to look at it very closely. We're looking at it right now. We're going to look at it. Look, the country's torn apart. We're going to look at everything. So he basically said on the trans issue, he's like, I don't want to get into the bathroom issue. I don't care. It's a tiny percentage of people. Who cares? Who cares? That doesn't mean that like trans people are going to be protected. They certainly will not be. It's just, it is not as significant nor consequential, and Trump understands that. That's the difference. Because if he was a Matt Walsh type, if he just like wanted to literally, if he ideologically was committed to like killing trans people, he would have an answer to that. He would be like, they're dangerous groomer predators. Do you understand? The reason why it's not a priority for him is because he understands that it's the sweatiest fucking losers that care about this shit aggressively. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean that he will go out of his way to defend trans people. That certainly is not the case. He will still be at the whims of people who do care a lot about this shit. Right? People who do care quite a bit about this. But it's yet another clear example that the permanent room reader Donald Trump has read the room and knows that this is like not a big priority for him. Okay, yeah, his hyperfixation is on immigration right now. That's what he cares about. The last part of this interview that I want to cover is also the prices will come down part. Okay. Because he talks about prices. Donald Trump in his interview with the Times says he's not sure he can get the price of groceries down. It's hard to bring these down once they go up. You know, it's very hard. Prices will come down, Trump told voters during a speech last week, laying out his vision to return to White House. You just watch, they'll come down. Everything will come down fast. Not only with insurance, but everything. Realign both political parties. You've changed America. There's got to be something that you understand about winning votes for the American people that your opponents maybe don't give you credit for. It's, you know, I think people want to lead a good life. I think they want to be able to buy groceries at a reasonable price and not have to turn off their heat in order to buy 2 apples. I think that people want security. I don't think people want to have our borders rushed in, invasion, yada, yada, yada. They don't want to see somebody in a weightlifting contest, a woman against a man. Again, a fucking totally made up thing. It makes no sense. They don't want to see, you know, men playing in women's sports. They don't want to see all of this transgender, which is just taken over. And then when you look at not many years after this person who went through the process saying, who did this to me? As you know, it's a very high percentage. Media also playing a role here. You know, propping up these narratives, the detransitioner narratives in general. I really think that the people of this country have tremendous hearts. They understand that they want common sense applied in their lives. Most of the things I talk about are common sense. They don't want to see their food price go up by 57% in a short period of time. And I think that's why I won. The Republican Party has become the party of common sense. And it's so many of the things I mentioned and other things too. They don't want to all have electric cars. They might want an electric car. Electric cars are great, but they're not for everybody. They also want gasoline powered cars or hybrids or anything else that has to come out. They don't want to have a mandate on cars. Okay, where's the other price conversation? Hold on. J6 pardons. I'll be looking at oil prices bringing down, coming very substantially. If the prices of this is where he says now the difference is you've had 3 times as much now. They have essentially they try to get the equal, but they didn't do that. You have energy, you'd have inflation that would have been much worse than it is. And it already was possibly the worst the country's ever had. We've had inflation. They've lost on inflation. They lost on immigration. They lost on, as a part of immigration, I think a big part of the border is the border itself. You know, if you can subdivide the word immigration, they lost on the economy, but it was a different kind of it. It was the economy as it pertains to groceries and small things that are actually big things for a family. If the price of groceries don't come down, will your presidency be a failure? I don't think so. Look, they got them up. I'd like to bring them down. It's hard to bring things down once they're up. You know, it's very hard, but I think they will. I think that energy is going to bring them down. I think a better supply chain is going to bring them down. He is hyper reliant on, I think, his relationships that he has with Saudi Arabia and maybe even Russia for OPEC plus, the cartel playing ball with him. If he does like a little pull and push on foreign policy, and then his reliance on big oil, which was so incredibly invested in Donald Trump's reelection, to basically lower the price of oil, that will then lower the price of all goods across the board. That's what he's thinking. There is no assurance or no guarantee that this will happen. And ironically enough, a lot of the things that he has advocated for, a lot of the things that he wants to do, like his signature policies, are inflationary in nature. Tariffs, inflationary in nature. Mass deportations, inflationary in nature. What do you think happens when there's no agricultural output? When you got like 60 to 70% of all agricultural output in this country being produced by undocumented migrants? What do you think happens to the prices of everything? You know, the supply chain is still broken. It's broken. You see it. You go out to the docks and you see all these containers. And I own property in California in Palos Verdes. They're very nice. And I passed the docks. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. You know, for 17 years, I saw containers and, you know, they'd come off and they'd be taken away. Big areas, you know, in that area. You know, they have big ships coming in. Big. The port. Big. Very big. I see this for years as I was out there inspecting property and things. And I look down and I see there are 13, 12, 14 containers. You wouldn't believe they can hold each other. It's like crazy. No, the supply chain is broken. So what has happened to the containers? I don't understand. He's like me. He likes big things. I mean, yeah, respect to that.
You have been, it's a terrific job you've done. But again, I want to thank you. We're going down to ring the bell now. And I could just say that the economy, I believe, is going to be very strong. We do have to solve some problems. We have wars going on that we didn't have. We have a lot of things happening that we didn't have that would have never happened. They would have never happened. But now they have happened. And I want to get them solved. We have to get them solved because ultimately the power of weaponry today is the biggest threat we have, in my opinion. It's not some of the other things that you read about. It's the power of weaponry. The weapons are so powerful, so devastating. And I rebuilt our military. I got to know every one of them, including nuclear weapons. I hated to do it. Actually, I hated to do it. But we did some nuclear weapons that are so devastating. It almost makes you very sad as you get them and as they come online. It makes you very sad because you know what the purpose of them is, and you just hope to God that you never have to use them. Because if you do, the world will never be the same. So we have to be very, very smart. We have to be very sharp. We have to be very special to do a job. And I think we'll get it done. And I think we're going to get a lot of people in the room. We've seen it. We were in France where President Macron did a fantastic job with the cathedral, an absolutely fantastic job, of Notre Dame. And it was beautiful. The opening was the opening, and I just got back, and it was something really beautiful. And a lot of world leaders there. We had about 80 world leaders, different countries, and they were all coming together. They all wanted to meet us.
That's the correct way to say it, my man. Lenin.
And meet me as representative of the U.S., and there was a lot of goodwill. But we're going to get some really tremendous goodwill. I was even thinking about inviting certain people to the inauguration, and some people said, wow, that's a little risky, isn't it? And I said, maybe it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we like to take little chances, but that's not a bad chance. Here's a gentleman that's going to do a great job at HUD. Good luck, my friend, right? He's going to be a he's been my friend for a long time. Good, nice to see you. I haven't shaken his hand yet. Come on. Congratulations. Thanks. Really, you're going to be great. And Ben Carson is your biggest fan in the world. You know that. Ben has been with us for a long time and he's done a fantastic job. Thank you. Good. So, ladies and gentlemen, go on. We're going to put it straight. We're going to give tremendous incentive like no other country has. We're cutting your tax.
What do you have to say to the American
Oh, we got Jim Cramer in the building.
investor in this country?
Well, I think you're going to.
Yeah, I don't know why he brought up black Ben Carson when he saw a black guy. Well, I do know why he brought it up. He's like, black guy, you all know each other. Ben Carson loves you.
See some very good days ahead. A lot of incentives are going to be given. You saw yesterday a $1 billion investment, and we give you very fast approvals. Nobody's come up with that one yet, although it seems pretty simple. I think you're going to have some great days ahead. We have to conclude a couple of bad wars that are going on. A lot of bad things are going on, but we'll get them done.
Do you think that we are in a situation where business will be far more embraced under you than currently?
Well, I don't want to really knock current, but I will tell you more than at any time.
I know Ben Carson was the HUD secretary. I don't think Ben Carson remembers that or knows that.
Time anywhere in the history of our country.
Now, we used to speak together about the idea that the averages mattered and were a good barometer of your performance. Is that still the case? Can we go beyond Dow Jones, maybe to NASDAQ?
Well, I think I've always said, to me, stock market is all of it, all of it together. It's very important. It's an honor to be here at New York Stock Exchange. I sort of joked that I actually bought the building across the street because the stock exchange was here. It's a big deal.
40, it's a nice building.
40 Wall Street. So, look, we're gonna do things I think that haven't been really done before. We're gonna be cutting taxes still further. We got it down to 21%. We're gonna bring it down even.
Oh, great. We really need that. That's great. Fantastic. We're going to cut taxes even further, he says. Nice.
Even below that, you pay 21 if you don't build here, and meaning your product or whatever it is you're building. And if
I am in support of cutting taxes even though I'm a Democrat. Why? Do you make millions of dollars a year? Are you a corporation? I own stocks too. Oh my God. But we're never getting anything good. I'm going to be honest with you. We're never getting anything good. Okay. Individual taxes also went down. Standard deduction was doubled. Brother, you are the reason why Republicans get to do whatever they want. Your taxes went down, let's say $1,000. Okay. Your taxes at the end of the year went down $1,000. Do you know how much the taxes of the actually wealthy people went down? Do you understand? Do you know that those tax cuts are slated to sunset this upcoming year? Unless you're in the top marginal tax rate, unless you're at the tippy top, your taxes are supposed to come back up. I understand that, but my life improved. I don't wish ill on other people. Oh my God. No, it didn't. Okay. You saved $1,000 and you thought, oh my God, how fantastic. It's great. Okay. The problem is, in that process, you got literally pennies on the dollar for how much the Omega wealthy. It's not $1,000 though, way more. How much money do you make? If you don't mind me asking. Once you combine stocks and income, oh my God. 90% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% of wealth. Oh, okay. You currently make $450,000 a year. Yeah, no shit, dude. Yeah, of course. Of course you'd be like, of course. Yeah, you're rich as fuck. Of course you would be like, yeah, I want tax cuts. A classic rich guy brain. Never mind. I don't even know. Oh my God. Yeah, of course your taxes went down, chatter. What the fuck are you talking about? You are not the average person. Your current net worth is $450,000. It means you're in the top. You're not the 1%, but you're close to it. Also, broke boy, where the fuck is your sub? What do you mean? You have 450K is your net worth, but you're not even fucking peppering the goddamn community with some gifted subs? Pay up. If your yearly income or your net worth overall or your yearly income is $450,000, yes, of course, you're rich as fuck. My job is to try and convince you, as someone who makes a lot more than you do, that it is actually wiser to ensure that we, people like ourselves, okay, and people a lot wealthier than both of us combined, times 1,000,000, pay a lot more in taxes, okay? Because if we pay more in taxes, especially especially those who have parked all of their assets in the stock market. If we give back more to the government, okay, ultimately, the goal is the government can spend more on social safety nets, on fixing the infrastructure, and ultimately, society will be better overall. I'm afraid that if they increase my taxes, I might never own my... Oh my God. This has got to be bait, man. I can't. I don't understand what you're budgeting on. If you're making $450K a year and you can't purchase a fucking home when the home prices are $2 to $3 million, like, just get an apartment, dog. I think. I don't know. It's tied up in Hawk Tua coin. Look up costs in Silicon Valley. Bitch, I live in Los Angeles. You think I don't know how fucking inflated the housing market is? That's so funny. Hasan would know, he lives in LA. Exactly. Yeah, no, I trust me, I know. I live in a inflated a price inflated home. I bought it with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I know. And as someone who is incredibly fortunate, I hate this kind of nonsense. I hate this, we need to do more fucking tax cuts nonsense. He's missing the point here. All he's arguing is that housing should be better now that tax cuts are good. Yeah. The problem is, here's the contradiction, okay? You have a lot of assets in the stock market. You make $450,000 a year. You feel understandably like you're a part of this, and in some ways you are in the top 10% of wealth, so you of course have a lot of motion in the stock market. So when the stock market is doing well, your net worth goes up. Okay, the problem is, in order for society, in order for Americans across the board to have a better outcome overall, we need to break this a little bit. The system that has been quite fortuitous for someone like yourself and even someone like myself. I'll give you one example. You're frustrated by the home prices, $2 to $3 million. The homes are $2 to $3 million over here. When in reality, part of the problem, at least in the Bay Area, is that there are a lot of homes that people are just sitting on. And also, I guess the Bay Area is one of the only places where, like, I would say zoning deregulation is a necessity. But the reality of the matter is people are just simply not building houses. There is no mechanism. There's a shit ton of Airbnbs. People are not building houses. There is no mechanism to bring the housing prices down so that someone like yourself and many others can purchase homes. Or someone like yourself or many others who work in the companies that you either have a vested interest in and stocks in can actually continue to hire people. It brings everything's, it is very consequential. It's very important. It brings the price of everything up. If home ownership is impossible and rent is unsustainable, then you have to increase the wages as well. But when you increase the wages, so much of that still goes back directly into the pockets of landlords. Our entire system is designed to constantly eke out profit. And because of that, nobody wants to turn around and actually do things that are deflationary in nature. Blow up any of these bubbles, if you will. NIMBY zoning, boomer Airbnb, private equity, simply viewing houses as an asset to begin with. Exactly. This is the issue. Trump is not going to do that. He's just going to keep cutting taxes further, which is going to contribute to this problem even further. That is the issue here. The contradiction is dumbasses are always fear-mongering about inflation, but when they bitch about taxation, which reduces the money supply, thereby reducing inflation as well, but only see inflation as being a problem when poor people get checks and not when rich-ass people get tax breaks. Exactly. Tax cuts are inflationary. It is the only fiscal policy that is allowed in the American Congress. And it's inflationary. And the only deflationary mechanism can come not from Congress, because God forbid you increase taxes and reduce the money supply that way. The only deflationary mechanism could come in the form of monetary policy. If you're thinking sector by sector, one of the immediate deflationary policies that you can engage with would be to readjust the housing market by making the government compete against the pre-existing inventory of houses by building fucking public housing. Build socialized housing immediately, instantly. God forbid, though, we do that, because that would mean that people who currently own homes, that use their homes as an asset, as their nest egg, as their retirement fund, as an asset to leverage against, those people would hate that, because the house prices would go down, and therefore they'd be sitting on these fucking insanely inflated mortgages at that in that frame, where all of a sudden their collateral has gone away and they're paying these incredibly expensive mortgages for an asset that no longer has that same value. The system has to fundamentally change. We do not treat housing as an asset when it comes down to protecting people's home values. Even though if it was simply seen as an asset, then yeah, sometimes you're going to fucking make a gamble and you're going to lose on that gamble. That's the issue. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where you're like, well, I invested in this company and it went under. What the fuck? The government needs to protect this company now. It's ridiculous. Okay, you made a fucking unwise investment then. You know, that's just not true. Look up how much goes in taxes, how much down payment you needed for a $3 million home, and how much the monthly payment at 6% rates after the 20% down payment, how much you need dependents, and so on and so forth. Wait, what? Oh, you're not responding to me. You're responding to someone else. Yeah. What happened to risk? Everybody wants to have it both ways. Everybody wants to act like housing is shelter when it comes to demanding that the government protect this asset, but everybody also treats it doubly as an asset. As a risky investment. It makes no dang sense. If it's an asset, if it's an investment, sometimes you're going to lose money on that investment. You know, you took the risk. If it's simply shelter, then you don't care. You're going to sit on it anyway. You have a fucking house. That's it. This man making $450K a year still has not peppered the chat to win over their favor by showering all of you with gifted subs, by the way. I am noticing that gifted subs have not come in from broke boy over here. Some of the smooth brain trust fund chatters probably think they'd lose money if their taxes went up to pay for universal health care, even though it'd be cheaper than their insurance costs. Baja blast my brains out. Thank you for the 25. Bill Vok, thank you for the 5 gifted. Anyway.
If you do, we're going to try getting it down to 15%, but you have to build your product, make your product in the USA.
And how about every working person who's watching would love to be able to see dividend tax maybe much lower, capital gains much lower.
Well, we're going to be...
Yeah, let's lower capital gains taxes even much lower. Fuck it, dude. No taxes. Why do we even have taxes to begin with? Fuck it. YOLO. Alamans, thank you for the 5 gifted. The Ether Paradox, thank you for the 5 gifted. To Code Fred, thank you for the 20 gifted. Castle Commander, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Talking about that, and we're really talking about lowering taxes. Last time, as you know, we took it probably from close to 44, 45% down to 21. Everyone said that was impossible. Now, it was always my, I really wanted to get it down to 15, and we'll be able to do that. And if you remember, we had the best 3 years in the history of our country from the standpoint of the economy. And you've been so professional and so good. I haven't seen you so much since I've been a politician.
Well, thank you,
Castle
sir.
Commander.
We were together, and I was grateful to be a judge
5
in The Apprentice. We had a great time.
That's right. You were a judge.
Begging Strips, thank you for the 5. Hitbox, thank you for the 5. Sure Jolly, thank you for the 5
Well, we had
gifted.
to eliminate some people who didn't cut the mustard. You made me a hatchet, man. I respect that.
Yeah, well, we're going to be doing the same thing, I can tell you.